What's up, YouTube? I am interviewing a YouTuber today. This is a little bit different than what I'm used to. It's not a pro wrestler, but someone that has been trained to be a pro wrestler, but also now he's a wrestling promoter, started his own wrestling promotion called Deadlock Pro Wrestling, where you can see some of the best talent in the independent scene. And you might see someone doing this interview as a backstage interviewer on the show as well. But my guest today is Pulse. What's up, bro?
Hey, man, I'm super excited to get to talk to you. I feel like I've known you forever, and now we finally get to talk, so I think that's awesome.
Definitely, dude. Definitely. I've been a big fan of yours for a long time now, and now see you guys actually start Deadlock Pro Wrestling. I mean, this is going to be a pretty interesting time in pro wrestling. Like, what's your excitement going into all this? Like, you're starting your own wrestling promotion.
Yeah. So nervous is one word that comes to mind, I think, when we're doing this. But another word is fucking excited. Can I curse? Yeah. Okay. Oh, we're fucking excited. We're really excited, actually. We've had this idea for quite a bit now, and now that we finally get to execute it and go through with it, it's exciting for all three of us because it's just something you dream of when you as a pro wrestling fan. You do GM mode, you do your EWRs, whatever the case may be, TEWs, and making it come to life is exciting.
Yeah, definitely, dude. So what's your start on YouTube? Because you've been going at it for a long time now. I'm sure you made a lot of connections. What's the reason you wanted to start YouTube? What led to you continuing and growing and becoming the YouTuber that you are now?
Sure. Okay. So this is actually my 10th year this year. I can't remember the exact date. So it might be December. It's early December or something like that. But I actually was doing videos back in the day with VCR that you couldn't look at the video before you uploaded it. You had to download the video and then watch it. Back in Halo 2 days on the Xbox, 2005. I've been doing videos pretty much my whole life. Back in the day when montages they weren't on YouTube yet. Like I said, you had to use Media Fire and stuff like that to share it. But been doing it for a super long time. I came across a video from a guy named Tubby Emu. You probably know him. Yeah. Back in the day, 2011-ish. And he was like, hey, looking for people to do videos with, or looking for people that can make good videos. And I was like, well, I've been doing this forever. I might as well go ahead and give it a shot. I had just started getting back into pro wrestling again. Around that time, I had stopped watching pro wrestling, probably around the time that ECW, the WWE ECW brand launched. I just kind of fell out of love with it, I guess. It changed quite a bit from, when I was watching it in the early 2000s, late 90s to when WWE ECW started, I guess, if you want to say that. So, you just go through ebbs and flows of wrestling. You fall out of love with it. You fall back in love with it. Stuff gets you back into it and stuff like that. So it was around that time. I kept up with a little bit of promotions here and there. TNA, for some reason, I was really big into when I really wasn't watching too much wrestling. But I got back into WWE around the time that CM Punk came back. And then the Tubby Emu video, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to make a channel. I'll call it CM Pulse because my name was already Pulse on Xbox Live. And CM Punk is what got me back into wrestling. So I was like, I'll just combine the two and send in a video. And Tubby really liked the video. And I started talking to Tubby. And then he started putting me on, and then I started making videos, and it's just history from there. So big shout out to Tubby Emu. He really did put me on.
Yeah, totally. And also we kind of seen you on, not just YouTube, but also AEW. You're on AEW Dark Elevation. that was crazy to see, watching this just like a fan.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Pulse. What the hell? What's he doing up there?
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. Actually, it's still, I look through my Instagram sometimes and I see that picture. I'm like, that did actually happen. That tournament came out of nowhere. When they told us that what you could win, I actually didn't believe it at first. I thought they were ribbon. I thought they were hey, yeah, you get to be on the show and you get the belt or whatever, and you get to meet everybody. I'm like, there's no way, we'll win the tournament and they'll tell us something oh, by the way, yeah, it was just a rib or whatever. But no, it was actually true. And I got to meet so many people, meeting Sanjay Dutt at AEW. I have watched that guy forever, my whole life. So he's an agent there now, a producer there. And he helped me through when I got there and did everything. Aubrey Edwards is a complete sweetheart, maybe the nicest person I've ever met. And everybody in AEW was super nice. Getting to meet Tony Khan was such a crazy experience. It was awesome. It was really fun.
Yeah, and now you start your own promotion that's going to take over AEW and be the biggest thing around.
Yeah, it's funny. We just announced a show in January in North Carolina. AEW is running a show January in North Carolina. So it's just funny how things work out.
Yeah, big competitor over here. But you're starting your own wrestling promotion. You and obviously the other guys from Deadlock. What went into like going into the idea of like, all right, we have this podcast, it's doing really well, but you know what? Let's get a wrestling ring. Let's get some dudes. Let's see what happens. Like, what was like the idea, the story of going into making Deadlock Pro Wrestling?
Okay, so we started Deadlock in 2019.
Yeah.
And the idea from the start, we'd always float that idea. I feel like, it's always something you float as a wrestling fan. We should do a promotion. We're not in the space to start a promotion at the time. We started a promotion in 2019. It would have never seen the first show. But the idea was to continue building Deadlock and then kind of funnel that into a promotion and then kind of funnel it into itself. Yeah. So 2020 is when we really started. Like 2020 was like a record year for us. Like, the growth that we saw at that time was crazy. Johnny came on board at the end of 2019, which was a huge boost. I feel like we all three like kind of clicked really good. That's when he came on when I left to go to Japan for a month, when he had somebody to fill my spot. And then I came back and we were like, yeah, man, this is awesome. Like I did one show with him and it was awesome. And I was like, let's just all get together and do this all the time. So Johnny then came on board. We had, like I said, a record year. Things were really going crazy. Patreon started doing phenomenal. The podcast numbers were incredible. Community has grown so much, and everyone in the community is so nice. And like, you couldn't ask for a better community of people with Deadlock. Shout out the Deadlock guys, the Hog Dippers, you already know. You couldn't ask for a better community. So 2020, we're like, okay, let's do this. Let's make this promotion. But of course, with COVID and everything, it was a little difficult in 2020. I don't want to say that it's perfect now with COVID because it's not. We still got mask mandates everywhere, and you know how it is. It's still, but things are a little better than 2020 was. So 2021 came around, and then we said, okay, well, if things are getting a little better, maybe this is the time we go for it. 2021 has been great for us this year too. And if there was ever a time for us to start this promotion, Deadlock Pro Wrestling, it's right now. So we said, let's do it. And that's the story of it. He just said, let's do it. And then we got some graphics done and we booked some guys, and there you go. That's the story.
Yeah, and you guys have like a pretty good roster on your hands for this new show coming out, DPW Fire, December 11th in North Carolina. I mean, like, it's gonna be pretty insane. So one thing that's gonna be really cool, that you guys have a world title eliminator. Obviously, you see that in AEW, but you're having your own tournament here. So what's that world title gonna look like? Because I have a lot of questions. I know you're a big Japanese wrestling fan, so is it gonna be like a little bit of aesthetics from like the whole Japanese style into the title, or what's the title gonna look like?
Big question. So we actually already have the belt done. We haven't presented the belt yet or anything, but that will be on the January 8th show, the Eliminator Tournament on the 11th in Jacksonville, North Carolina. That will be all the way up to the semifinals and getting the two finalists for the January 8th show. The belt itself is a love letter to a lot of championships that all three of us collectively are really big fans of. I was always a really big fan of like the WCW championships and the way the side plates looked and everything like that. Of course, we were really big fans of WWF, early WWF stuff like the Intercontinental Championship, the WWF Intercontinental. Of course, we love the Oval Championship too with the globe and everything. So we it's a love letter to all our favorite championships from professional wrestling. We're super excited to show it off because it is just beautiful, man. It is beautiful. It really is.
So I'm guessing it's not going to look like a Divas title or 24/7 at all. Like, it's going to be
no. Sadly, we're not going to put well, we could have a 24/7 belt at some point, but no, I don't think this was going to look like that one, sadly.
Fair enough. So at the DPW Fire tapings, right? So how's this going to be streamed? It's going to be on its own YouTube channel. It's going to be on Fight TV. How are fans going to find it?
Okay, so basically DPW Fire is going to be a YouTube presentation. We felt that's the best way. We're not going to run like DPW Fire always, but we feel like it's a good way to introduce people to wrestlers they may not know. And for us to build some stories going into shows that we need to build the stories for, like a world's title eliminator tournament. We need to get that out there. So this is the perfect opportunity to do so. It'll be free on YouTube. So all you have to do is just tune in on YouTube every week. It'll be a weekly show for 4 weeks. It's 4 episodes. And the storylines on those shows will lead into the January 8th show in Raleigh, North Carolina that we just announced. DPW, you already know. So those storylines will carry over to that show. So it gives people free content on YouTube to watch and maybe learn about some new wrestlers. And then, of course, we have the pay-per-view event on January 8th, which we are actually still working on distribution for that. But right now it's currently looking like we're going to be using Patreon. There's a way that we can live stream through Patreon. And since most of our community, if not all of our community, is a part of the Patreon, we feel like that's the best way. Of course, we're still looking into other ways to do it too, but currently that's the way we're looking at right now.
Of course. So let's look at like some of the roster. I mean, you got some guys that are part of AEW with Luther, but there's also some guys from the independent scene that are part of MLW, like Calvin Tankman. So if you could make a prediction, not a spoiler, just a prediction, who do you think could win that world title eliminator? Because like personal opinion, I would love to see Calvin Tankman because I'm a big Tankman guy.
Sure. Okay. So, I mean, you have to look at it like this. The people that are known domestically, like Calvin Tankman or Kevin Koo, who is, I feel like, a very underrated talent. I think he's going to show out in this tournament too. You also have to look locally to the guys that we got in here, guys that I trained with and I've done stuff with, that these guys have been ready and are ready to show out. They just needed that platform. And that's sort of like what DPW, it was kind of looking like what we're trying to do. We have a very special opportunity with DPW to give a platform to people. We are like, it's a very special promotion, being able to start a promotion and instantly have a community of people waiting to watch it is very special. And we're going to use that to platform as many guys that we think, should be out there as possible. And I know some guys locally that are in this tournament, like Bojack and Diego Hill, Donnie Ray. Like, these guys are so good and they just need that platform. So that's kind of what we're doing here. Bringing in guys like Calvin Tankman, bringing in guys like Kevin Koo, to really stand out. Andrew Everett is a guy that should be making $2 million a year, wrestling everywhere. Rosemary is maybe one of the top wrestlers in the world. Just crazy stuff. And then you got Josh Fuller. Josh Fuller's a little asshole. He was on my forum back in the day. I'll never forget this. I grew up with this guy. This guy grew up with me, like being able to book him on this show is amazing. I love that little fucker. And that dude's a phenomenal wrestler too. And I'm super excited to have everybody kind of get together and just show off, like this is what this is just take this platform and just fucking do your thing with it. That's kind of what we're looking to do.
Yeah, of course. So you have guys like Diego Hill, Lucky Ali, which are like super, super talented guys. But you also posted something on Instagram recently of yourself. You said it was the Big Dirty. Just got to ask the question, are you going to be wrestling on the show as well?
No. So I'm not going to be wrestling. Not yet. My Triple H run's not yet. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that'll come in the future at some point. But no, not yet. The first couple of shows here, what we're going to do, the whole thing with DPW really, like I said, is to provide that platform for guys too. So we want to make sure we get those names out there and do that thing too. Maybe one day I'll wrestle on the show and I'll get in there. I'll get in the mix. Maybe, like I said, I'll take my big run at some point. But right now it's all about the people we got on the show right now.
Oh man, I was looking forward to it. I thought you were going to come in with the suit. You're going to hit someone with a sledgehammer.
Hey, don't worry, man. Don't worry, man. I promise you it'll come eventually. I'll hit that Double J run in TNA at some point. Don't worry.
Word. But I also want to talk about, again, like DPW Fire. How's this show going to be different to like other independent wrestling shows? Is this going to be an independent wrestling show? Do you have the potential or the will to like want it to be on television? What is different about DPW considering the rest of the independent wrestling scene, not just North Carolina, but all over the country?
Sure. So DPW Fire, like I said, is an episodic. That's kind of what sets it apart right away. It's an episodic indie promotion show. For the most part, like 4 shows leading into a big show. A lot of independent promotions don't do that. So we're excited to kind of do that. We're releasing it for free on YouTube, which I think that a lot of promotions should probably take advantage of if they can. Mostly because that kind of gets your eyes. It's a feeding cycle. It feeds back and helps the wrestlers and helps the promotion and stuff like that too. Because I'm sure you've done it too, where you find a new wrestler and you go on YouTube to find something and can't find anything because everything's paywalled. I'm not saying don't paywall everything, but having that content for free is very helpful, and that's something that we took in mind when we decided to do the format like we're doing it. We also think that, like I said, DPW, the community itself and the hype that the community builds for this and the hype that gets behind these wrestlers, and like I've already seen people sharing art that they've made for these wrestlers. They haven't even seen a lot of these wrestlers perform before, and they're so hyped to just see these guys perform that they're already interacting with them. And we think it's just amazing. Honestly, we think is super special. And I think that right there kind of sets it apart. The community within itself is so phenomenal. And we think people will see that and want to be within the community And like, of course that feeds back, and there's so much, it's just, like I said, it's like a feeder back and forth. And we think that's what kind of makes it special.
Yeah, definitely. When I first saw the graphic come out, I was like, ooh, I want to be a part of this. I have to figure out somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a fun time. Like, that's the biggest thing, is we want it to be a fun time for everybody involved. If you come out to a DPW show, we want you to leave with a smile on your face. You know, we want you to leave with a good time. You know, sometimes it's just easy to forget that in wrestling. We all just want to have a good time. You know, wrestlers want to have a good time. Fans want to have a good time. And that's just what we're looking to do. And with our community, like I said, it's a show for our community, hoping to get people within the community. It's kind of the idea. So for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So like, what's been like some of the fan feedback so far? Because again, like for me, when I first saw the graphic, I'm like, oh, I want to be part of the show, of course. So what have been like other fans that are just like excited about DPW? What are they saying about the promotion so far?
So the reaction for this has been incredible. I don't know what we thought. We launched it one night and we were like, we're probably going to get shit on. I don't know why. I think that's just the YouTuber mentality. Like when you make something, you just kind of expect people to just on stuff sometimes, just because that's just YouTube for some reason. But the reaction to it has been overwhelmingly positive. Like I said, we have guys that are interacting with these wrestlers already. I've seen people go, I've never seen these guys perform, but I'm super excited to see them. And they post like their art and stuff. And like, well, that's fucking awesome. I think that's the coolest thing in the world. And we can't thank everybody enough that's been on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, liking and interacting with everything. It's so cool to see, like, that interaction has been hyping the wrestlers. I've been talking to the wrestlers that we have on the show, and they couldn't be more excited for this. You know, like seeing that interaction is unbelievable. We've had wrestlers contact us just from the hype they've seen of the show itself on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. And that's crazy to us, you know, because when we booked the show initially, we booked it before we posted it. Like we had the show pretty much booked. And we like to say that we booked it on hard mode, because like trying to book people for a show that doesn't have any, like, there's nothing they can see yet, was incredibly difficult. And then once we put it live and everything, it was like, oh, wow, we should have just put it live and then booked everything, because everything kind of came together so quickly. But yeah, man, it's been incredible. The community's been great. The wrestlers have been phenomenal to us. We've had some people really go out of their way to help us. I want to give a shout out to Vinny Massaro. He's been that guy has been a huge help. I've become good friends with him and he's awesome. And really, I want to give out a shout out to Jakob Hammermeyer, who that's my trainer, and a guy that I don't think we could have done this show without. Shout out him, and shout out everyone that's on the show. You know, the guys locally like Bojack, Diego, Donnie, you know, even guys that aren't like that. Calvin, like giving Calvin Tankman was such a huge, like, that was like the moment where we were a promotion. Does that make sense? Like, yeah. Like it wasn't just like a local indie fed anymore. It was like when we got the confirmation that we were going to get him on the show, it was like, okay, now people see what this is, if that makes sense, right? He's such a name and he's so good, and we're excited to have him and everybody else on the show. Yeah, man. And like, I guess one of my last question is, so for the scheduling of DPW, it might be jumping the gun a little bit, but going forward, are you going to have like these DPW Fire tapings and then a big show, or how's the schedule going to go from just from this taping and then moving forward? Mm-hmm. So for 2022, we have a couple of things lined up. Of course, we have something planned later on in the year. We're going to be traveling. We're actually going to be traveling quite a bit in 2022 from what we have planned right now. So that's pretty cool. Not just along the East Coast, but out towards the West also. So that's going to be pretty exciting. Yes, on some of the events, we will have fire before the bigger shows. Some of the bigger shows will just have bigger shows. It depends on the stories that we want to tell. And that really comes down to everything we do. What is the story we want to tell? And how do we get there? So if we need to do something for a big show before the big show, then we can run a fire taping and we can get that short story to where it needs to be. We have a really good home base in Jacksonville, a great venue that allows us to do whatever, which is fantastic. So things like that, like flying people in and doing that kind of stuff is plausible, which works out really well for us. So really, yeah, it just comes down to the storytelling and what we want to do. So I will say we will have different fire tapings throughout this upcoming year, but we will also have just singular events that are singular events in different areas across the United States, because we are very adamant on doing that. We want to make sure that while we are an East Coast promotion, that we do head towards the Midwest and out towards the West a little bit more, so people can come out. Because like I said, the community is so big with Deadlock that we already started with the community of guys that are in the Midwest, the community of guys that are in the West Coast. So while we have the East Coast stuff locked down, we can head out there, say hello to all the hog dippers and Deadlockites out there, you know.
Awesome. Yeah, that was my next question, is if you guys were going to go to the West Coast. But I guess to wrap it all up, I want to say again, thank you guys for letting me come to the show as well, because it's definitely going to be a great experience. The show looks amazing. Just off paper, it already looks like probably one of the better wrestling products out right now. So again, thank you to you guys. And also, where can they find you on social media if they aren't already following you? And where can they find DPW if they're not already buying tickets to the shows?
Sure. Okay. Yeah, you can find me at CMPulse, CMPULS3 on Twitter. You can find Deadlock at deadlockpro.com. That'll send you straight to the Twitter. That's the easiest way to get there. If you want to buy tickets for the shows, December 11th, Jacksonville, North Carolina, DPW Fire Volume 1. That's on dpwtix.com. And if you want to head out to the big show on January 8th, DPW, you already know, that's the show name. You can go to dpwtix.com. That's going to be January 8th, 2022, Raleigh, North Carolina, at the Raleigh Convention Center. And I'm telling you, the card that we got for that show, I'm telling you, if you can make it out of that event, you will want to make it out of that event. I promise you'll love it.
I'm still highly convinced you're going to put on a suit and like beat someone up. I feel like it's going to happen now.
Not yet. Hey, kayfabe, not yet.
I feel like you're capping. You're definitely going to get in the ring.
Kayfabe, soon, but not this soon.
Awesome. But yeah, guys, make sure to follow DPW. Make sure to go to the shows, of course, and make sure to like, comment, share, and always subscribe. And we're out.
We going up like 1,000. I'm a flex just like a muscle man Malcolm. We going up like 1,000. I'm a flex just like a muscle man Malcolm. When it just like 1, 2, 3. If you like the channel, this will squeeze. If you like the channel, this will squeeze. If you like the channel, this will squeeze.